What's up, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Slam Sessions right here on YouTube, the Slam Sessions podcast network here on YouTube. I'm your host, Albert Albanese, as usual, and I guess it makes sense to do this because this is timely, but unfortunately, yesterday, a lot of WWE superstars, WWE executives, and WWE producers and just in general employees were either released from their contracts or furloughed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this negatively affects, everyone. It's not just small businesses. It's not just, normal, everyday, average people. It's everyone across the board. And some of the names that were announced yesterday to have been released were shocking. Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder won the WWE Tag Team titles at WrestleMania last year. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were on WrestleMania in the Boneyard match this year. Rusev has naturally been one of the more over WWE superstars by his own volition. In the past, I gotta say, maybe like 5 years, getting over almost everything he's done since he's debuted in WWE. These are some big cuts, some big losses for the WWE. So first thing I want to do is I want to say thank you to every single person who has unfortunately been a product of this pandemic and losing their jobs. I just want to thank them for doing their jobs so well to keep me entertained for so many years. I'll miss seeing you guys on my TV screens every week, and I can't wait to see what the future holds and what's next. For some, like Hawkins and Ryder, they have their podcast. Eric Young was doing work as a producer for Main Event. So maybe once this whole thing, the ball gets rolling and the producers who were furloughed, get their jobs back, if there's an open spot, maybe Eric Young can slide back in there. I'm looking forward to seeing what guys like EC3 can do, being out of the WWE bubble and starting to figure out his own path, as well as many others. There were a lot of guys who were unfortunately let go of their jobs. I think have bright futures within the wrestling industry. We forget that guys like Matt Cardona and Brian Myers are they're my age. They're 34. So they have many years within the industry left at performing at a high level. Kurt Hawkins has his wrestling school. Pat Buck, who is an agent, also helps with Creative Pro Wrestling. So you can see that these guys have things that they can do, and I'm glad for all of them. And I hope that each and every one of them who lost their jobs can get right back on track immediately as soon as this country decides that it is safe enough to reopen. Now that's out of the way. What I really do want to talk about is all of you. Now, when I say all of you, I don't mean every single one of you. Predominantly, this space, this YouTube channel, is for people who think maybe a little bit more like I do, or for people who are looking for a different point of view and perspective about how things are going. Now, I know that predominantly that leads to me almost seeming like I'm more pro WWE than anything else. And, just really briefly to kind of just push this off to the side, just so, I can just come out and say this. I don't know if I've actually ever said this on this channel. I grew up watching WWE and the NWA, which then became WCW. WWE has been my wrestling company my entire life. I did enjoy WCW and its wrestlers. I was a big Sting and Steiner Brothers fan. I loved the Great Muta and Brian Pillman growing up. Those are some of my favorite guys from WCW. But, WWE was always where it was at for me. So sometimes maybe there is a part of me that defends the WWE a little bit harder than everybody else because, you're attacking something that meant a lot to me personally and still does because, I'm still a very big wrestling fan. I mean, obviously I'm still doing this channel. I'm still doing all these other things that, uh, lead me back to the WWE realm. But, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of bashing and a lot of backlash against Vince McMahon and the WWE for the cuts they made. And I just want to throw some facts out at everyone. First and foremost, I want to get this out of the way. If you don't have a business degree, if you didn't major in economics, if you don't know and you never have worked for a major corporation and know how they run internally, you have no business commenting on the cuts that WWE are making. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired of it. It's borderline ridiculous. I have never, ever seen so many people so far out of their depth come out of the woodworks and comment on different posts stating the WWE's financial structure, their status, how much money they have, where that money comes from, where that money is allocated to, how it's being used, how the money that they've used, they're saving from these cuts are being used, how the WWE is still well above their profit margin and expectations, how they're still profitable, how they're making just as much money as they did before, how house show and live attendance and ticket sales don't have anything to do with their bottom line, or if they do, they're not as big as some of the other things that are in their bottom line. Somehow, some way, the majority of internet wrestling fans have become financial analysts. And I had no idea that this many people went to business school. Guys, you don't know how to run a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I sure as hell don't. So why are you commenting like you do? The WWE could have taken the $500 million they have laying around and could have floated the company for the remainder of this. Remainder of what? How long do you think this pandemic is going to last for? Do you know that it's going to end tomorrow? We're at least in New York. Andrew Cuomo just said today that we're at least on lockdown until May 15th. So they extended it now until the middle of next month. And that's just normal people getting the ability to get on with their normal lives. That's not reopening sports. That's a completely different thing. Who knows how long it's going to be before WWE is allowed to have a crowd? And those house shows that they were doing, the revenue from that isn't coming in. They're doing Raw, paying their talents, paying all of their athletes, paying their personnel, paying the executives, who, by the way, took a pay cut, paying everybody to do their jobs, and they aren't getting any major source of income that they normally would. Because they don't have the ticket sales for Raw. They don't have the ticket sales for NXT, for SmackDown. They don't have them for NXT UK. They don't have them at all. But you guys are out here telling me that you know for a fact that the WWE could have floated their money and they could have made it all work. The other thing is this. About 2 weeks ago, everybody sat there and they were yelling at the WWE, you hoard talent. Maybe you should let some people go and let them go and be better for themselves. And now they're all like, this isn't what you do in the middle of this situation. You don't just let everyone go. This is bull. No, they don't have a place to go. Guys, everybody's doing this. Disney, the largest corporation in America. And let me pull up the exact thing, and I'll show you the screenshot from the article. Disney they furloughed 4,300 workers. I don't think you really can't see the title. It's all white, unfortunately. But can you see it here? I guess not. I guess the lighting doesn't work. But Disney furloughed 4,300 workers. The action comes after the Florida attraction closed last month, and because of the coronavirus pandemic, about 200 employees who were considered essential will remain on the job. 4,300. The WWE laid off somewhere in the vicinity of 100 to 350. But nobody's condemning Disney for doing this. But they're damn sure condemning the WWE, who has less money than Disney. And yes, agreed, they're still running shows, but are running shows basically now for free. And the people who can sit there and go, well, they could have floated everything with the Saudi deal, and they could have did this, that, and the other thing. No, they couldn't. If they could, they would have. The executives all took pay cuts. This isn't just something small. Their business has been affected by this. They lost somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million. Somewhere between $23 and $40 million just on WrestleMania. That's 1 week's worth of shows they lost that much revenue on. Can you imagine that? I'm gutted. Absolutely gutted for the talent. I feel horrible for everybody who lost their job. When I say talent, I don't just mean the on-screen ones. I mean the talent that was backstage, the producers that lost their jobs. I'm talking about the talent, the writers who lost their jobs. I'm talking about the talent, the props people, all the people who helped, make the show go on. If all those people were furloughed or lost their jobs, I feel horrible for them. And I feel even worse for these certain people who lost their jobs that are independent contractors that might not be able to get unemployment. Sure, they made a lot of money in their time, and hopefully they'll be okay. But we don't know that. We don't know their financial situation. This is a horrible, horrible day for the entire wrestling industry. But blaming Vince and the WWE for this is absolutely ludicrous. Blaming Vince's investment in the NFL is stupid. He sold his WWE shares to buy that. That was his own personal money. And then I have people telling me that Vince should lay out his own personal money for it. Like if I owned a business and it went under, that I'm supposed to float my money, that I'm supposed to be paying my mortgage, my taxes, for my cars, for everything that I have. I say cars like I have more than one. But I say mortgage like I actually have one. But let's just say in the scenario I did, I'm supposed to lay that out and keep paying you when I know the business is failing? No. That's not the way this works. It's not the way the world works at all. You guys have to remember, Vince knows how to fail. He filed for bankruptcy with Linda in 76 or 74. But look what he did to rebuild it. Guys, you're not financial wizards, and you're not financial experts, and you don't know how this works. And no matter what he tells you, Dave Meltzer doesn't either. There's a difference between running the Wrestling Observer newsletter and the World Wrestling Entertainment. Don't let him and the rest of his cronies get into your head and make you keep thinking this crazy stuff like Vince could have did this, this, and this. Look it up and do the research yourself, because when you do, because I'm not going to provide it for you, because that's the only way you're going to learn is to read it yourself. Look what that money is all allocated for. And understand why he can't just take that and use that to push everybody through during this. Everybody is furloughing and laying off employees. I am one of the only one of my friends that I know that actually still have a job. This is affecting everybody. Stop whining, stop crying, stop complaining, and stop blaming the WWE and Vince McMahon for doing the same thing that every single other major corporation has done. You don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. You don't know what it's like to make these phone calls. You don't know what it's like to be Vince McMahon right now, because every single time you ever hear anybody who's close to Vince McMahon talk about him having to lay off a talent, they all say that he hates doing this. You guys can think he's the devil, but we all know that's not the case. And this isn't people just trying to placate to it and get a job and stuff like that. This is normal people who've worked there, who don't have an agenda. So guys, stop with your agendas. And stop thinking that you know more than everybody else. And also stop thinking that your opinion is more valued than everyone else. I want to close this out by saying two more things. One, I want to close on, they're both not a good thing. One of them I wasn't even going to address, but I'm going to put it out there. So this is, I'm sorry. Yesterday, I was on a very well-known wrestling page, Facebook wrestling newsletters Facebook page, not the Wrestling Observer, and it's a wrestling website's Facebook page. It's a very prominent one. I won't draw attention to them because this person probably still belongs to that group, and I don't even want the acknowledgement for him to even think that, he got one over on me. But I do want to point this out just because there's a moral to it all. There was a story posted about just, of course, these layoffs and stuff like that. And this guy took it upon himself to say that not only are we all wrong for supporting the WWE, but Vince McMahon himself is a money launderer, has covered up murders, has had people, maybe he said they had people killed, I don't remember, but I've for certainly said that he's a pedophile. Now, I just commented and I was like, why are you speaking about someone like that you don't know without facts? If you have something, like a court document stating that he was taken to jail or he was taken to court for these things, sure, by all means, I will hear it. The steroid trial, there's no denying that. He was brought up on charges for that. But for you to outlandishly state things about someone you don't know, and you don't think that they are human, and they don't have feelings, and they don't have, and they don't feel just the same as you do, and they don't like to have their name dragged through the mud and slandered like, anybody else in a normal world would, you don't say things about them like that. And I was calm and I was rational, and I wasn't mean or anything in my response. And his response was to not only call me a pedophile, but to personally message me that through Facebook and to post it in a comment on this YouTube channel. I know that people troll, but there is a certain extent to that. For those of you who don't know, I work in the social worker area. I'm not going to go into what I do for a living, but I work with children. That post, if someone at my office would have seen that, could have gotten me fired. It could have turned my life upside down. It could have, who knows? It could have gotten me investigated by something. Now, obviously, I wouldn't be afraid. I have nothing to hide. It's not who I am. But do you not understand the far-reaching implications of posting things like this? This was a wrestling fan in a wrestling group who posted this on a wrestling topic. And they went off and did this. Guys, we have to be better to each other. This isn't just me. This is everybody. We have to be better to each other. Stop the negativity. This is getting out of hand now. Now we have to worry about people going off and spreading slanderous rumors about you because you said something that upset them in a wrestling post? Borderline, not borderline, it's absolutely unbelievably ridiculous. So please stop engaging with these people. And guys, if you don't agree with somebody and you have an opinion, please state your opinion and debate. But stop name calling, arguing, doing all that kind of stuff. There's no reason for any of it. Now, I reported this person, and I hope to God not only are disciplinary actions brought upon him to where all of his social media outlets are taken away, but I hope that this has happened to other. I don't hope this actually happened to anybody else, but if it has, I hope that they reported him too, and he gets brought up on charges for it. I really do. And I've considered doing it because of the far-reaching implications of what that would mean for my job, but I just don't have the time and the energy to go and do stuff like that. Plus, let's face it, nothing's open anymore for me to even complain about. But I digress. Just please, guys, be better to each other. Jesus, this is ridiculous. And finally, I'm sure most of you heard the unfortunate news earlier today that WWE legend, the greatest ring announcer in the history of announcers, Howard Finkle, passed away. You start watching wrestling, and that's one of the more iconic voices that you remember. There's no playing wrestling with your friends or playing wrestling with your action figures or, dropping elbows on your wrestling buddy or playing with your hands, whatever the hell you did as a kid, without starting off your matches with, "Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest scheduled for one fall is for the World Wrestling Federation Championship." It's the most iconic voice ever. And there's nothing better than hearing your favorite superstar win the championship win the World Heavyweight Championship and hearing, "Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and new WWE Champion." It's iconic. Everything about the Fink was iconic. And there's not one person who I've seen that's posted anything or ever said anything negative about Howard Finkle. And he was the voice of my childhood. The greatest announcer to ever live. The person who everybody emulated, who everybody wanted to be. The first ever employee of the World Wrestling Federation. It's Howard Finkle. Howard will miss you. Your legacy will live on. And nobody in the history of the world will ever do it better. Guys, be safe out there. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face like I keep doing, but I've been home all day, so whatever. Be courteous to everybody else. And take care of yourselves. This is a hard time that we're all living in. And, you know, this is a tough place for everybody to be in. So just be good to your neighbors. Be good to your friends. Be good to your enemies. Because everybody's having a rough go of it now. And, yeah. Try to be better people to each other. And let's stop all the hate and the negativity. And that's not just towards each other. That's even towards Vince McMahon, the WWE, Tony Khan, AEW, everybody, Walt Disney, everybody out there is making just the most difficult decisions that they've ever had to make in the face of something that we never knew we'd had to face. So, yeah, just take care of each other. And I'll see you guys soon. This has been Albert Outnews with Slam Sessions.